Good morning, everybody. I'm back. I had a week off. Thank you very much for bearing with me while I did that. Had a lovely week. I didn't do an awful lot. I did a little bit of painting for myself, but just enjoyed spending time with my husband and my animals and all of those sorts of things. So it's really nice to be back. My name is Ali Board and you are watching Technique Tuesday. If you don't know about Technique Tuesday, where have you been? I'm kidding. Technique Tuesday is me broadcasting at 10 a.m. UK time every single Tuesday. It was all pre-recorded up until the beginning of our lockdown, which is nearly a year ago now. Who can believe that? But now I come to you live from my studio. Now, you might be watching this on YouTube thinking, hang on a minute, she's not live. This is pre-recorded. Or you might be watching this broadcast via my blog. Either case, you are all astonishingly welcome. If you happen to be watching me right now at 10:01 on Tuesday the 23rd of February, you know that I am broadcasting via Facebook, and you will also all be out there commenting. I can see all the comments coming in. I'm testing out a little bit of new technology as well today, so if I get slightly distracted with my head doing this all the time, it's just because I'm keeping an eye on things. So shall we see who's in the room? Because you know I appreciate you all tuning in and I like to give you a shout out. So who have we got? Sylvia, Ali D, Heather, Rabina, Rosie, Diane, Joe, Sally W, Linda, Jean, Christine, goodness, Kareen, Linda M. Hello, Linda. I haven't spoken to you for ages. Hello, my lovely. Anna, Anne, Stephanie, Jane, Teresa, Diane, Gwenda, Barbara, Joe, Mick. Morning, Mick. Oh, he says I look bright and refreshed. Love you, Mick. Vera, Tony, Sally, Linda, Sam, good morning, lovely. Rachel, you're very welcome too. Mary, Anne, Hilary, goodness me. Jan, Lou, Heather, Wendy, Jill, Sandy, Anita, good morning, lovely lady. They're coming in thick and fast. And too many Lindas in the room. Good morning, Linda. Stella, Patricia, Val M, Marion, Jane, Molly, Jilly, Barbara, Pen, Caroline. Wow, Joe, who's heading off to the dentist. That's rubbish. I hope I take your mind off it. Maureen and Sandy. Good morning, one and all. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Morning, Sue. Morning, Rona. So let's give you the rundown. My apologies if I missed you. You come in thick and fast and I can't keep up. What are we doing this week? I thought we would slow the pace down a little bit. Why did I think we were doing that? I was having a think while I was off for a week, and I was thinking, I make lots of decisions when I present a tutorial to you, and I sort of cut out a whole lot of the learning process in discussing why I might choose to do something, why I make the decisions that I do. So I thought what we would do together, bear with me. I thought what we would do together, good morning, Mum. Mum's in the room, say hello, Liz. What I would do is literally take you through right from the very, very beginning of a project all the way through to the end. It's going to go over 2 or 3 Tuesdays, but I thought as well that would give you the opportunity to make your own decisions about a similar project or to follow along in your own time. And I'm going to want your feedback as well. Okay, this is interactive. This is you being as much a part of the painting process as just me sitting here talking to myself. Who else we got? Lots of people. Teresa. Teresa's watching at work. Nobody tell anyone. Anne, Julie, Dee, good morning, lovely. I think we may have spoken already this morning. Brenda, Susan, Marion, you are so sweet. Leanne, Steph, Rosemary, Janice, good morning. Who else we got? Kath, Jane, Jackie, I think that's it. I think I've said, I hate leaving any of you out. I feel so responsible for saying hello because you're all very kind enough to tune in. I feel like I should say hello. So as you have probably deduced, We are doing a Daffodil project, and this is going to be a project with many facets, and I'm hoping that you will kind of like investigate one of the avenues that I give you and just run with it. And so that's why I've slowed it down a little bit, so that you can understand why I'm choosing to do the things that I do, give you a little bit of an insight into how my brain works. And also it means that hopefully it will help your painting practice and your part of the process. Now, there's lots of information that I need to give you along the way, so my apologies if I sort of go forwards and backwards all the time, but bear with me, I promise. We've got lots of decisions to make together this morning. Hello, Sue, my lovely. And lots of things that you can take part in. Now, I'm looking over to my left because I have my little to-do list, things that I have to remember to say to you. Now, like I said, we're going to make some decisions about our subject matter this week. We're going to start painting it next week, and then we're probably going to finish it off the week after. But we'll just see how we get on, shall we? That's kind of the process. There's no time limit, no time minimum on any of these things. Now, if you would like to follow along with me using the photograph that I am using, I need to tell you where to go and get it from. So here's the photograph that I am going to be using for my project. This is a photograph that I took. This is a daffodil. Oh, this is quite a few years old, actually, this photograph. And it is a terrible photograph. There are people in the room who are much better photographers than me. But the reason that it's a very useful photograph to paint from is because it shows the extreme of light and the extreme of dark on the petals and in the surroundings, and really shows you that trumpet part of a daffodil. Now, I know that there's some of you out there that have said the thing that they struggle with is to make the trumpet part of that daffodil look like it's coming forward. And so I've chosen this photograph so that the photograph really shows you that. You've just got to say good morning to some people. Mick is writing poetry already. Oh, Mick, if I could hug you, I would. Carol, thank you for tuning in. Good morning. Tara's in the room. Oh, my goodness. Valerie Webberley's in the room. Valerie Webberley has been trying to tune into Technique Tuesday for weeks, and she's here. Good morning. Ali D, you do recognise that photo. And yes, Carol, you've seen through my cunning plan, daffodils in time for St. David's Day. Of course it had to be. My Welsh heritage in that. Had to be a daffodil, didn't it? So to get hold of this photograph, you need to go over to my blog, which is on my website, www.alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk. In the blog post, go to Ali's blog. In the blog post, you'll be able to read, after this broadcast, there's a link in there for where you can find the photograph. However, it is also to be found in the learning resources part of my website. Some of you know about that part of my website already. Lots of free information for you there, including lots of royalty-free photographs that you are very welcome to download and use for your own projects. There is a little thing on my website which means that you have to actually check out the image. So you kind of have to go through the shop. It's just the way that my website works. It's so that I can safely send you the download, which means that you have to kind of go through the shop and you have to go through as if you're going to pay for it, but you'll see that it's no money, it's £0, okay? Why that is so that when you put your email address in, it will then send you that image straight to your inbox so that you can download it. It should be simplicity itself. But if you have any issues with it, then just let me know. But it should be fine. If you've ever shopped online, you'll be absolutely fine with it. Yes, some people are saying Easter cards, and my mum is saying St. David's too. Okay, where did I get to? Now, the other thing I just want to very quickly talk about is copyright, okay? On the 7th of March, I think it is, I have written quite a lengthy blog post for the Artist Demo Days website all about copyright, because we have had a few issues with copyright recently. So I'm going to ask you a huge favour, if I may. If you use the photograph that I am sharing with you, and you're very welcome to do that, if you share your painting on any kind of social media platform or within your art group or any of those kind of things, would you be kind enough to just put "from a tutorial by Alison Seaboard"? I would really appreciate it. I don't want to charge you for these things. We're in a dire enough situation as it is at the moment. I don't want to charge you for things. The way that you can repay me is by attributing anything that I share with you to the wider world, because it's like free advertising for me. Now, I know that some of you already know about that and you're brilliant at it. So what I'm asking is that if you see something of mine that's been shared elsewhere and you kind of recognise it, would you also be kind enough to ask them to attribute it to? I would really appreciate it. That way nobody feels uncomfortable and everyone is sticking to the copyright rules. Is that okay? That would be good. Thank you very much. So Marion is saying, can you give your website address again to get photo of the daffodil? It's down in this corner. It's just down this, except the sunlight's shining on it at the moment, which is not very helpful. So it's alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk, or if you just Google Alison Seaboard, you should find me. Should be okay. I hope that answers the question for you, Marion. Right, where did we get to? So that's a little bit about copyright. I've told you about the learning resources, all of those kind of things. I have to look at my notes. I've reached the age where I have to look at my notes. Now, I have, oh, Dee, bless you for sharing the link. Thank you very much. This is the one thing I can't do in a live broadcast. Now, I was hoping today that there would be a poll showing up somewhere on this broadcast. If there isn't, and I can't see it myself at the moment, I will talk more about that later on. I'll talk more about it in the blog as well. But I want you to choose the materials that I'm going to use for this project too. I'm definitely going to be using watercolour. That's a given, because essentially I am a watercolour painter. But I would like your feedback as to the other materials that I would like you to use. Now, if the poll isn't showing, that means I haven't done the technology right. I will have a look at that. But what I will do is on the Alison Seaboard page and the Learning to Paint page and on the blog, I will put the poll up so that you can choose the other materials that you would like to see me demonstrate. There's going to be a few suggestions there for things that you would like to see, and that's what I want. I want your feedback. I want you to tell me the types of materials you would like to see. And so I can get your feedback in that poll, and those are going to be the things that I'm going to demonstrate. I was hoping the technology would work, but I've not ticked a box or clicked a button or something. I don't know. So let's take you to the overhead shot so you can see the photograph on the overhead camera. So here is that photograph that I was sharing with you earlier. Let's show you the photograph again. So there it is in colour. Sometimes colour not terribly helpful, okay, because you kind of get blindsided by the actual colours rather than the tones. It's not too bad in this photograph where you've got the very bright yellow and you've got the very dark green. But here's a handy hint for you straight away. Print the photograph out as a black and white version. That way you can see very clearly where the darkest darks have to be and the lightest lights have to be. You know a daffodil's yellow. You could kind of mess about with that as well. Don't forget you could make the petals yellow and you could make the trumpet orange. There's all variations of narcissi, aren't there? Get me in my knowledge. So I like to print it out as a black and white version. I also like to play about with my technology for, do I want it big so that I can see lots of detail? Do I want it really small? But we'll kind of come to why we've got it this size a little bit later on. So I've got my black and white copy there. Now, before I start a project, I need to decide what my expectations are. Okay, now this is a really important part of the process. What is it that I am trying to achieve with this project? Okay, am I trying to paint a beautiful picture of a daffodil because I want to give it to somebody? Am I trying to paint a beautiful picture of a daffodil because I want to practice my yellows? Am I trying to do some really quick paintings of daffodils because I want to experiment with all the different ways that you can produce it? Am I trying to paint a daffodil because I want to throw every medium that I have at it and see how they work on a piece of paper? So your expectations are very important in a painting, and not only because if you are thinking to yourself, oh, do you know what, I just want to play about with this, then your expectations are probably quite low, and therefore it takes the pressure off you. If you go into a project going, right, this is going to be the best daffodil I have ever painted, it's going to be awesome, it's going to be the best painting ever, I'm going to make cards out of it, it's going to be the highlight of my painting career, I'm going to frame it, it's going to go in an exhibition, all of those kind of things, you are setting your expectations spectacularly high, and that's not a bad thing. You just have to understand that in loading your painting with all of those expectations, any tiny little thing that might go wrong with it is going to get you very disheartened very quickly. I would suggest you kind of meet it halfway. Go, do you know what would be lovely? If this turns out really well, I'll do this with it. But if it doesn't, really doesn't matter. We're going to have another go at it. So think about your expectations and what it is you would like to achieve with this painting, and understand that your brain does peculiar things to you, that when you set your expectations very high, there is a chance that you're not going to meet them. I try to set my expectations really quite low, in the sense that I will kind of test a few theories out. I'll have a look at it. I'll go, oh yeah, that worked, that didn't work. And if it turns out and I really like it, then jackpot, okay? Now at the moment, in the state that we're all in the world, even with the lovely announcements in the UK yesterday that there is light at the end of the tunnel, I would suggest you make your expectations a little bit lower, because you don't need to add pressure to yourself, okay? So have a think about that. So I tend to write myself notes on my black and white copy. So I've just put expectation, and my expectation for this project is that I want to play with it, and that it is a demo for you lot. So there's my expectations. Why do I write them down? I write them down to remind myself that when I'm having a hissy fit with my daffodil, I go, oh yeah, I remember now, I was supposed to be playing with it, wasn't I? So I write it on there as a bit of an aid memoir. Then looking back at this black and white, I kind of look at a few other things. I think, oh, the tones would be interesting to look at. I'm loving the crinkle. I'm sure that's not what it's called, but the crinkly bit in the trumpet, that's nice. So that would be a nice thing to add in. The stem's a bit rubbish on here, so I'm going to put stem question mark. And what this does is just remind me of those things that I'm going to do with it. Now, I don't know what materials I'm going to be using yet, because you guys are going to choose that for me. All right, so I'm kind of going to put materials question mark, and I'm going to put ask the audience because then that will remind me that you guys are going to choose for me. So I have my black and white there already, and that provides a little bit of a reminder of those things that I'm expecting to come out of this project. Now, I want to read you something. I'm just going to go back to face on. I'm going to read you something that the lovely Carol Kibble has just said in the room. She's put, thanks for the copyright reminder. I'm always happy when people ask to use my paintings, and great to be able to inspire others. However, it would be great if people could mention credit me when sharing their image on Facebook, Insta, Grace and Perry Show. That's absolutely right. If you don't know Carol, go look her up. Her work is stunning, and she's just a thoroughly nice person to go with it. And she is absolutely right. One of the best things that you can possibly do for us is say where you learnt something. You don't have to do it all the time, but if it's very much a tutorial that you followed, or a photograph that you've got, or any of those kind of things, it's called professional courtesy. So just say, we will be thrilled if you write to us and say, would you mind if I share it wherever it is you want to share? Of course we're going to say yes. We're tutors. That's what we're meant to do. We're not going to say no. But if you don't attribute us, we do get a bit narked, it has to be said. So I hope you understand. Morning, Liz. Morning, Anne. Mick is saying, why not call the crinkle on a daffodils a tutu? I'm loving it. What's not to like about that? Thank you, Mick. Okay, so back to overhead. We've printed out our black and white version and we've made some notes. And so what I tend to do now is I have a look at other versions of the same thing that I've done already, and I give them a bit of a critical evaluation, just for myself, not for any other reason really. Now, if I obviously haven't done the subject before, then this is all sparkling new territory. And it means that pretty much anything that I discover is going to be thrilling and exciting for me. But if I have done the subject before, then it's a good idea to look back at what I've done before, to ask myself what worked or what didn't work. And I'm not really going to make any huge judgments on this. I'm going to take you through a couple of things so that you can see some thoughts that are in my head. I really like the darks on this, I have to say. I like the darks on this, and it's because I used a good old moon glow in the background, and then I used moon glow for the darks as well. We'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. This has got chalk pastel on it, it's got oil pastel on it. Good morning, Ulrika from Stockholm. You are very welcome. We've got a bit of negative painting going on. The one thing I hate on this painting is the stem. I mean, look at it, regimental. I mean, it looks like it's sort of artificial. It looks like I've kind of literally planted it in the ground. So there's some things that have worked and haven't worked. I had a back run here where the yellow went into the moon glow, but I don't dislike that. Valerie is asking, would this work on black paper? Hold that thought, lovely. I'll get to that. So there's some good things about this. There's some not so great things about this. I like its vibrancy. I like the mixed media thing, of course, because it's me. And then this one you might recognise. This was used in my book. And this was kind of testing out 3 versions of painting the same thing. So this isn't really about the daffodil in itself. It's about looking at it and going, right, this was done with masking fluid. This was done wet into wet. This was done with negative painting, and looking at the various versions of it so that I could maybe decide on the style that I'm going to paint it, not just the materials. Now, what I am going to do is just very quickly take you to a close-up camera. Over here, close-up camera is pinned on my little Lego figure at the moment, but you will also see a beautiful close-up of a Narcissus that I did on black watercolour paper. And I did this with some metallics. I did it with Pearlex on the background. You can probably see the shine going on in there. Can you see that little kind of glimmery, shimmery nonsense going on? So yes, you could decide to do it on a completely different substrate. You could decide to do it on black, or you could decide to do it on a coloured surface. All sorts of versions are possible. Okay, so you might make yourself some notes. You might think to yourself, this is what I always do with I kind of go, right, I've got some stuff in the back of my head now. Like the loose thing, I might use some masking fluid, haven't quite decided yet. Really need to think about where the stem is. These stems are not great either. What's the matter with me? All of that stuff is floating around in the back of my head. If you're not very good at leaving it floating around in the back of your head, make a list of all the things that might crop up as you are doing your project. Okay, now let's just get you back on so I can see you all again. I mean, I can't see you, but you know what I mean. So all of that stuff is going on in the back of my head. All of those things are to be considered. Now, I do want some input from you. I do want you to let me know the kind of materials that you would like to see me use. Don't write them in the comments from this live broadcast. If you're watching live, don't write them in those comments. I am going to see if I can get that poll to crop up somewhere else, or I'll put it back on the Facebook page. I'll pop it on the blog as well so that you can comment on it. And I'll tell you the options that you've got. I'm going to be using watercolour. I'm going to be talking about yellows. I'm going to be using Moonglow. You just know it, don't you? But I wondered if you wanted to see me demonstrate with Posca pens or with oil pastel, with Brusho, or with metallic powders. Now, don't write it. Don't type it. Stop. Don't type it yet, because when this broadcast has stopped going live, I want you to keep an eye out on my page where you can vote on those things. And I'll take the most votes from all of you, and then those will be the things that I will demonstrate. Now, between this week and next week, if you would like to follow along, you need to get your materials in front of you. I am going to show you how I start a project. I'm not going to draw it out ready for you. I'm going to do a transfer. I'm going to print it out. I'm going to go through that daffodil using trace down paper onto white watercolour paper. I will be doing it on white watercolour paper. And you can see how I do that. If you would prefer to have yours all prepared to see what I do, or if you prefer to do a measured drawing, if you've been watching Ali Hargreaves over on the Artist Demo Days page this week, yesterday she did the most amazing demonstration of a measured drawing for a kingfisher, so you can revisit those skills too. It doesn't matter. These are all your little expectations. What is it that I want to achieve? Next week, I'm going to be doing a transfer for you, and then we're going to be starting with a few things, and we'll kind of see how we get on. We'll call a halt at the time that we need to call a halt, and then we'll transfer it over to the last week so that you can really get to grips with all of those things that go on in my head, which will hopefully help you with your projects in the future. Now, there's a few questions that I think have come in. Lots of people saying that they are enjoying my black watercolour paper. Thank you very much. Sylvia saying that she had to buy Moonglow. Jackie is saying, what is Moonglow? Moonglow is a colour in the Daniel Smith range of watercolours. Don't rush out and buy it. Do rush out and buy it, but don't rush out and buy it just on my say so. Wait to see what I do with it before you do that. Yes, lots of people saying it's my favourite colour. Not going to lie. Paula is in the room and saying hello, and that she's very excited to be doing a musical instrument tomorrow. I have a full day workshop being broadcast live tomorrow, a real kind of in-depth via Zoom musical instrument workshop. There's a couple of places still remaining on that one. If you want to go and sign up, pop over to the website if you would like to join in with that. Lots of people talking about Moonglow. We could talk about it for hours, couldn't we? And Rosemary is saying Ali Hargreaves' drawing tips yesterday were really helpful. It was an awesome demonstration, wasn't it? It was really, really good. Yeah, very good indeed. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into all those things that I think about before starting a project. So the thing is now, go. Off you go. Find some daffodils, tete-a-tetes, anything you like, those beautiful scented narcissi, whatever it is you would like to do. Take some photographs. Do your research into copyright. Find out what you can use and what you can't use. Go to royalty-free sites. Go over to my site, alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk. That photograph is there, ready and waiting for you. In fact, I can see that already a few of you have checked out that photograph. You're very welcome to do that. In the meantime, if you'd like to have a discussion about it, if you'd like to help inspire other people, over to the Learning to Paint page on Facebook, where you can share what it is that you've been thinking about. You could share the photograph if you want to. If you've got a photograph that you think is worth painting and you're happy for people to use it, stick it on over there. It might just be the thing that inspires somebody else to pick up a brush and get away from all that craziness that is going on outside. In the meantime, keep your eyes on the blog, keep your eyes on social media. I will post the polls. I will see what it is that I did wrong with the technology, and we will go from there. The other thing to leave you with today is that there is big news coming with what it is that I'm going to be doing with my daffodil painting when it's finished. The only place you're going to be able to read about that is over on my blog. So give me a few minutes to get this uploaded onto YouTube and onto the blog site. You'll be able to watch it back if you didn't quite catch everything that I was talking about, and you'll be able to read a little bit more about where this dandelion painting is. Dandelion? When I paint daffodils, I call them dandelions. When I paint dandelions, I call them daffodils. What's wrong with me? I had a week off. That's what's wrong with me. But in the meantime, thank you very, very much for joining me this morning. Take lots of care, no matter where you are in the world. Looks like we've got to be a little bit patient for a little while longer, but you're all out there to support each other. And of course, don't forget, I'm here if any of you need me. Take lots of care. Thanks for tuning in this morning. See you next week.